Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Richmond Hills Committee of Adjustment meeting on this day, the 20th of March, 2025. Let us commence with the land acknowledgement. We are gathering on the lands that have been home to First Nations people from time immemorial. We acknowledge that what we now call Richmond Hill is the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas, of the Credit First Nations, and the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations of the Williams Treaty. We also recognize that we are on part of the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee and the Huron-Wendat. We would also like to acknowledge all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples from across North America, also known as Turtle Island, who now reside in the City of Richmond Hill. We are committed to rebuilding constructive and cooperative relationships. Please note, everybody, that the Committee of Adjustment meetings are live streamed and recorded and available to the public for subsequent viewing. At this point, I would like to ask for the reading of the preamble, please.
Good evening. In the event of an emergency, please exit this room. Outside of the double doors are two stairwell exits. The one on the right exits to the south side of the building, and the one on the far side of the elevators exits to the main lobby. Do not use the elevators or return to the building until directed. We ask all committee members, city staff, and members of the audience to please silence your cell phones. The Committee of Adjustment for the City of Richmond Hill has been appointed by Council to consider applications for minor variance and consent within the jurisdiction of the Planning Act. The chair will call the applicant to the podium to present their application and will allow members of the public to comment. When members of the public approach the podium, please do so one person at a time. Please note the public deputation form beside the podium. Please clearly write your name and email address and indicate on the form if you wish to be added to the notification list for the application you are speaking for. State your full name and address to the committee before speaking. When speaking, please address all comments through the chair. Once the committee makes a decision on an application, no further discussion is allowed inside council chambers. No one other than the applicant, the municipality, certain public bodies, and the minister will be allowed to appeal municipal decisions to the tribunal within 20 days of the making of the decision. All appeals and associated fees must be filed directly with the Secretary-Treasurer in accordance with the Planning Act. Thank you.
Thank you. Our Secretary-Treasurer this evening, Courtney Cullum, assisting her is Ms. Linda Asikas, and from our Planning Department, we have Darren Biliacelli. Do we have any conflicts of interest this evening? Okay, I see none. Do we have any requests for adjournments or withdrawals?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are none.
Okay, in that case, I'd like to call the first application, item A, consent application CN-24-22, located at 206 Duncan Road. Do we have any additional correspondence on this application? I see one letter of support. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct.
Thank you. If the applicant could come forward and present the application, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee and city staff. Jim Katsopoulos, 27 Field Flower Crescent, Richmond Hill. And Mr. Chair, I'm here on behalf of the applicant. Mr. Chair, the application before you involves a land consolidation through a conveyance of the rear 45 meters of municipally known property as 202 Duncan Road, which will be conveyed to the abutting lands being number 206. And Mr. Chair, these lands are intended for future residential low-density development at the time where the infill road that's currently terminates just to the east, being Loredana Crescent, eventually finds its way through these properties. So that's when these lands will be in a position to be redeveloped. Mr. Chair, we've obviously gone through the staff report and its content, and we're in full support with its recommendations and any other notations. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone in our audience that would like to speak to this application? If so, please come forward. I see, okay, yes, sir.
I'm wondering this,
Please state your name for the record and where you reside.
my name is Yong Wang, is in the neighbor. This is the first time I attending this kind of adjustment meeting. The first question is, the mail I received, I guess, is the wrong information. When I read the number A, it seems the same part of land copy to itself. The mail wording is, I think, is wrong. When I read this, it said survey and configure a part of land, which is A, to merge it with A. I don't know why it's this kind of error here.
Okay, is that your concern?
But
map?
this description is totally wrong. I don't know what's the real meaning for this.
So if you look at the key plan, which is that one that you showed, the back half of the property will be severed and conveyed to the adjacent property to the west, I believe.
Yeah, from the map is like this. From the description is totally wrong. I'm wondering why the city makes this kind of error.
I'm not sure I'm following what the error is.
Anybody want to read it?
Neither did I.
Okay. From this A, I think it should be merged with the total itself. Right? The total itself.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. And sir, if I could get where you live, I didn't quite get that for the file.
I live on 16th.
16th,
Yeah,
the number?
I'm the right backyard of these two property.
Do you have a house number?
619.
619 16th?
Yeah,
Okay,
right back to 202. Thank you.
okay.
But my real question is, what's the plan to make this adjustment? What's the development plan?
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Is there anyone else in the audience that has any questions, concerns? Okay, thank you. If you don't mind, Mr. Katsopoulos, if you could explain to the gentleman here what the development concept and plan will be in the future? That was his question.
Mr. Chair, there is a map in staff report that actually depicts the subject lands being number 202 and the adjoining lands being 206. And you notice, Mr. Chair, there is a concept plan that's depicted here that shows Loredana Crescent to the east, which terminates above 4 properties to the east. And then upon a consolidation of land holdings with these various owners, Loredana is going to be extended westerly to eventually come out to Fern Avenue to the west. And upon that actually being facilitated, then the lands being 202 will have the ability to front onto that roadway. So the intent is to develop basically the entirety of 202, particularly at the rear, through future low-density residential purposes.
Okay, I understand that. Do you have, by chance, anything you could put on the monitor for the gentleman to look at? Do you understand what?
Basically, I want to know the property type, will it be like single detached or will it be, you know?
Single detached dwellings, single detached dwellings, if,
I said low-density residential, which is going to be primarily single detached, right? Low density is single detached, semi-detached, but in this case, the neighborhood is all comprised of single detached. More than likely, that's what you're gonna end up seeing.
Okay, I got another question. When I buy this unit, my backyard is empty like a park. So if they make a new properties, my environment will be changed totally. I don't have this quiet, you know, environment. So as the neighbor, as the backyard neighbor, do we get any compensation?
I don't believe so, no. But you can put your concerns in writing to the committee after the meeting if you wish, and it'll go on record.
You know, for construction and the density is getting, you know, heavier, more property.
Right.
Do we get any, you know?
No, there is no compensation to neighboring properties when development occurs. No.
So this development will ask us to put a hand to agree on.
Pardon?
Should we put any opinion on agree or not?
You can put your concerns in writing again to the Committee of Adjustments after this evening's meeting if you still have concerns.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I just suggest that I have a discussion with this gentleman after the committee makes a
absolutely.
decision?
That would be a
And
good idea. Thank you.
I could avail him, you know, in terms of what's going to happen, when it's going to happen.
Yes, sir.
So I can answer all those questions for him. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. If there are no other, yes, sir, come forward. Please state your name for the record and where you reside, please.
Yeah, so this is Rami Kidis. I'm the owner at 26 Duncan Road. So I just have
26? You,
26. I'm the owner of
Okay, thank you.
the property
Thank
where
you.
the severance is gonna happen. So just two comments I have. The first one is we just redid the grading of the land. So we installed a pool recently. The grading was not done properly initially by the original builder. When we did the pool, we had to redo the whole grading plan, okay? With this, the city, we were working with Hudad from the engineering department. They required us to install an infiltration trench, a huge one actually, that is actually now is in the severed land, will be in the severed land if the severance happens or once the severance happens. Okay, so my request here as the number one is to ensure that the grading, once it's redone for the severance, is done properly, taking into account the retained land as well. So this is one just request I want to put in record, because the grading plan would be very important for us going forward.
Okay.
Okay. The second point is related, but a bit different. So again, we installed the pool, cabana. There is some, additional fence there. So we want to make sure that with that severance line, that our pool, our, property is not impacted by that severance line.
Okay.
So that's the second point.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else from our audience? Yes, sir. Please state your name for the record.
My name is William Alexiou. I'm a real estate agent, and I was involved in the transaction of this particular option lands. I sympathize with Mr. Kedis with regards to his grading implication. However, when he purchased this property, where he was a second purchaser, the original buyer sold it to somebody else, and then subsequently he purchased. He was fully aware of the option land. So the option agreement registered on title of the lands. When he came forward and made the grading application, he did not fully disclose that implication and went ahead with the construction with these trench that he installed on the option land. So I would say on the basis that he wasn't truthful and forward with the city with respect to the sort of infiltration system, it's difficult to deal with this implication at this moment. So as much as I sympathize with him, he knew it from the very beginning and went ahead with it anyways.
Okay, thank you.
Furthermore, he contested the option agreement on, with the court system, and subsequently it was nullified. I mean, it was a court order that the option agreement is valid, and then we're going forward with the severance. So that's my position. He was fully aware, but he went ahead and did it anyways.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Yep. My understanding
Oh,
is
can I
that,
show you a little sort of showing where the infiltration lands are on the property?
I think we understand where it is.
Okay,
It's
fair enough.
behind, yeah. I think I understood. You want to just to state for the record what your concerns were, and they've been duly noted in the record. So this is a matter which will be dealt with at the engineering design stage of the project, not here this evening. We're not dealing with grading and stormwater. Okay, please come to the podium.
Yeah, I just want to comment, like there was not hiding any truth or anything. I was very
Understood.
truthful and straightforward. It's what the city required for the pool to happen. That's the grading. So there was no being untruthful, just to be clear
Understood.
on that one. And I'm in support of the application. I just want to make sure that the retained lands are protected. That's what I'm asking here.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else from our audience that would like to speak? I see none. Any additional comments from our planning department?
Through the chair, planning staff have no comments.
Okay, and our members, any comments, questions, concerns? Yes, Member Payne.
So if I understand correctly, there are turn that on. Am I on? There are about 8 properties on this diagram. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on one side, 8 on the other. And Loredana Court at some point will come down through the middle along this severance line and join up with Fern Avenue. And I note that whole area is basically, strikes me as a woodlot. It's heavily treed. So when they build the road, they're going to be removing pretty much all of these very mature trees. I'm just noting that for everybody. And this is the first I'm hearing about options and you know, this is a whole development going on. And I just wonder, is this really a minor issue? I know at this stage it's just consent for severance, but is this beyond the scope of the Committee of Adjustment? I would ask that question of the Planning Department. Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, through the chair, no, this is within the scope of the Committee of Adjustment. Consent to sever applications are through the Committee of Adjustment.
Yes, but this is headed for like 16 properties involved in.
I mean, at this point, we can't comment on the future plan of the area. The area is designated neighborhoods
Yeah.
under the official plan. So the plan for the area is for low-density residential uses.
It kind of triggers a whole lot of things though, and chief among them is a whole lot of trees coming down to build a road that will go in behind these properties when all of that is gathered. So I just wanted to express that concern. Maybe there could be a discussion about that.
Thank you for that. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay. In that case, I would ask for a motion. Member Gossi.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to raise a motion to approve item A on today's agenda, consent application file number CN-24-22 at 206 Duncan Road, subject to terms and conditions in the staff report.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder on that motion? Seconded by Member Kalbas. All in favor of that motion? 3 hands. Opposed? 1 opposed. It's approved. Thank you. The next item on the agenda, item B, minor variance application MV-24-15 located at 107 Birch Avenue. If the applicant could come to the podium, please, and present. Kindly state your name and address for the record.
Jyotika Bhise, Goldberg Group, 2098 Avenue Road, North York.
Excuse me one moment. Do we have any additional correspondence on this application? Sorry about that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, we received a letter of opposition from the owner of 23 Lily Day Crescent.
Thank you. Proceed. Thank you.
I'm here on behalf of the owners of the property located at 107 Birch Avenue. The proposal is to construct a 2-story single detached house, which is the prevailing dwelling unit type in the neighborhood. We are here requesting 2 minor variances with respect to the lot coverage and east side yard setback. We have received a positive planning staff report and are accepting all the conditions. Previously, the Parks and Natural Heritage Department had requested a deferral, outstanding the proof of payment for the fee of a city tree removal. Since then, we have provided them with the receipt and have received revised positive comments in the matter. As I go through the presentation, I'm going to try and answer the concerns that were received by the owner of 23 Daylily Crescent. So as we can see on the slide, this is the subject property, and I would like to note where 23 Daylily Crescent is. The subject site is a part of a subdivision that is happening towards the south, and what we are talking about here is only 107 Birch Avenue and no properties adjacent to 23 Daylily Crescent. Can we go to the next slide, please? The subject site is about 5 odd properties east of the 23 Daylily Crescent, and it has an easement for the subdivision towards the south. The easement is of 3 meters towards the western side of the property, which is why the building has been moved towards the east, and we request the variance. Can we go to the next slide, please? In terms of the variance, for the east side yard setback, we are seeking for a reduced east side setback of 1.2 meters, where 1.52 meters is required, necessitating a minor variance of about 32 centimeters, which is about a foot ruler, not much. This is, as previously stated, this is because of the existing easement of the on the property to the south for the subdivision. I would also like to note that 1.2 meters is the prevailing setback in the area of the subdivision. The next variance requested is for the lot coverage. We are also seeking a variance for the lot coverage where the proposed lot coverage is 34% of the property. That required is 30%, which is a nominal increase of 27 square meters. I would like to note that we are exceeding the front and rear yard setbacks, and the proposed variances are minor in nature and do not adversely impact the neighborhood and will not result in negative impact to the streetscape or the functionality of the subject lands and abutting properties. If in conclusion, the proposal meets the 4 tests, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you
you.
for that. Is there anyone in our audience that would like to speak to this application? If so, please come forward. I see none. Is there any comments from our planning department?
Through the chair, planning staff have no comments.
Okay, and our committee members, any comments? Yes, Member Payne.
So when this came before us in February and was deferred, They were proposing a minimum side yard setback on the east of 4.10 feet, 1.25 meters. And I see tonight that that has been changed to minimum side yard setback on the east proposed 3.93 feet or 1.2 meters, under 4 feet. And when I look at that street, I don't really think that's the norm is to have houses that close together on that particular street at this particular time. So through you, Mr. Chair, I would like to ask why it has been changed when it's an empty lot.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I may explain that situation, it was, Member Payne, it was a typo, and that's why we brought it to a new meeting to correct the typo on the notice, so proper public notice was served.
Okay.
So your concern was the 1.25 meters versus the current 1.2? Is that was your question, asking why it changed?
Well, I guess I'm looking at the side yard setback for an empty lot, a design, and the bylaw requirement is 5 feet.
Okay,
I don't understand why we need to change that.
okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that has any comments, questions, concerns? Okay.
And I think that was the nature of the letter that we had with regard to this. Person was concerned about how it would impact his view, front and back.
Okay,
So,
thank you. I am assuming that this easement is likely for the purpose of storm drainage. Is that correct? So there'll likely be a catch basin, either on your property or on the adjacent property. So given that, you know, you've lost 3 meters on one side because of this existing easement, it's not uncommon that variances come through for a request to reduce the side yard on the opposite side because you've lost quite a bit of space to facilitate a home. So that's my interpretation. It's quite common that side yard's going to be diminished. Okay, if there are no other questions from the members, if I could ask for a motion. Member Kalbas.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve application MV-24-15 located at 107 Birch Avenue, subject to the terms and conditions in the city staff report.
Moved by member Kalbas, seconded by member Gossi. All in favor? See 3 hands. Opposed? 1 opposed? It's approved. Thank you. The next item on our agenda, item C, minor variance application MV-25-03, located at 49 Reman Street. Is that correct? Yes. The applicant could come forward, please. Present your application.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, happy spring, although it doesn't look like this is the first day of spring.
One more question. Is there any additional correspondence on this application? I keep forgetting to ask.
Here, Mr. Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceed.
This is a very straightforward application. I don't want to waste your time on this matter. We are asking for relief on 3 matters: minimum side yard, maximum gross floor area, and maximum building height. 2 of these numbers are already approved on the previous application on this lot with a different designer, different design. But we are here for just, some adjustment and change on the design. I reviewed the staff report. If there is any question, I would be more than happy to address them.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone from our audience that would like to speak to this application? I see none. Do we have any additional comments from our planning department?
Through the chair, planning staff have no comments.
Okay, thank you. And our committee members, any comments, questions, concerns? Yes?
Oh.
Member Kalbas?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to clarify which 2 were approved previously.
We improved the maximum building height. The previous application was asking for 9.60 meter, and what we are proposing is 8.86 meter.
So a reduction.
Yes.
Thank you. That answers the question. Yes. Any other questions from our members? Member Payne?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I see that you are trying to take some special measures to protect the mature trees on the property. How many trees are involved?
Actually, through the previous design, which was approved, and the client got all approval from urban forestry on that application, we try to keep the situation as it was. Even we had a back and forth with urban forestry to protecting one city-owned tree at the front. We adjusted our driveway. Basically, the situation in terms of injury or removal of any tree is same as what it was approved on August 2024.
Any other question?
No.
Thank you. In that case, I would ask for a motion. Member Gossi.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve item C on today's agenda, minor variance application file number MV-25-03 at 49 Reman Street, subject to terms and conditions in the staff report.
Moved by member Gossi, seconded by member Kalbas. All in favor? Unanimous. Approved, sir. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is item D, minor variance application MV-24-54, located at 56 Fergus Avenue. Please come forward. Is there any additional correspondence on this application?
Yep.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have received a letter of opposition from the owner of 62 Fergus Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, good evening, members of Committee of Adjustment. I'm Victor Lan from FDL Design and Construction, Inc., the agent for the application at 56 Fergus Avenue, Richmond here. And so this proposal is to demolish existing one-story detached house and to build a new two-story house. There's one minor variance. Required side yard setback is 1.4 meter. The proposed north side yard setback is 1.2 meter. The deficiency is 0.2 meter. So this morning we received a letter from the 62 Fergus Avenue. So they have some concerns. Shall I address here? Is okay? I can continue?
Sure.
Yeah. So and the one concern is the sunlight. So the owner at 62 Fergus and has concern about sunlight. He said this thing and because the house and 0.2 meters closer to their property, which might block the sunlight. So and we argues that because between their house to our proposed the wall is about 8 or 9 feet, so it's very wide. So 0.2 meter difference, I think affect the sunlight. Another is our 1.2 meter variance is only the first part of the house, which is the garage area. And the majority of the house is more than 1.4 meters. So and which and also reduce the sunlight effect to the neighbor. And another things and also the neighbor concern is said because why the house is shift to the north, but the empty space at the south side. So and because this land is 75 feet by 150 feet is large land. So and the owner or client so want to utilize this land. So in the future and so he wants the 2 lot. Yeah. So and now we now this phase we build and so we moved the proposed house to the north side, so, and give the opportunity for the land on the south to build another house for the client, yeah. So this is a answer to the neighbor's concern. Also, and we did a survey in the neighborhood in the Fergus Street, and at least 6 houses. So their side yard setback is less than 1.2 meters. If the committee members want to see the photo, so we can show you the photo. Yeah, so at least 6, and the houses in the neighborhood in the Fergus Street, they have the less than 1.2 meter setback. So, and the city staff have evaluated our minor variance according to the Planning Act and supported the proposal. So we believe the variance is minor in nature and is desirable for the appropriate use of the land. It also meets the intent and the purpose of a spatial plan and the intent and the purpose of the zoning bylaw. So we agree to staff report. We will show at least 2 large canopy trees in the replanting drawings as recommended by the Park Department. We will apply for the building permit. So we hope the Committee of Adjustment will approve this variance. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone in our audience that would like to speak to this application? Yes, please come forward. State your name and address, please, for the record.
So my name is Inong Sun. I'm the co-owner. My husband is there. We're the owner of 62 Fergus Avenue, and soon hopefully to be the very friendly neighbor of Mr. Lin. And I met Mr. Lin and his daughter just outside of this room.
Okay.
And I really look forward to being the neighbor of them.
Okay.
That being said, forgive me, like I've never argued in front of a committee or, court or even traffic ticket, but I do want to say that good boundaries make good neighbors. So I want to be clear. We are very friendly. My husband is a federal government employee. I'm a finance executive in the corporation. So we want to be very clear. We are not being hostile. We're just wanting to have our options and, to make sure we object this and pursue any options we will have in the future, if there's any. And I haven't obtained the legal counsel. I haven't had any advice. I don't have expert witness. But I do want to say that although Mr. Lam was saying that he doesn't think there was sunlight, there's very important fact we have to be clear that we're living in a very tiny bungalow, and they're going to build 11 or 10.8 meter of 3-story, or if you call 2-story house. So there's a material difference, and like that 20 centimeter makes a difference for a small bungalow. And I'm not expert. I'm not trying to argue. I'm simply stating the fact because we haven't had the opportunity to even speak to Mr. Lin and his builder about, have we tested whether that 20 centimeter will for sure not block our sunlight. And it's also important to mention that my son's bedroom is just right at where they want to have the variance. And if any other places that I might have just not come here tonight, because I think that's important to notify. And also, if this variance was because Mr. Lin does not have a bigger lot, and Mr. Lin can have some difficulties of, maybe, small lot, and if someone needs a ramp for mobility purpose, I would also be totally fine. But this simply is just to leave a 9 meter or over 9 meter on the south side and move 20 centimeter to the north side. So I think there's a disparity here. The committee should be aware that it's not that they don't have the ability to move to the other side. They're leaving that open. I totally appreciate as a homeowner, I definitely want to maximize the financial gain or value of my house. That's not the issue here. The issue is here, like when we compare financial gain and with my son's sunlight access, I think that's the issue I'm having.
Okay,
And the last thing I want to know, like I obviously I'm not expert, but I know that there's several tests in terms to test for us to decide, whether there's 4 tests. I don't know. Mine just Googled, right? Like I don't know whether this applies to Richmond Hill, but there's also the test that are they in, is this variance going to be to be satisfying to the intended result? The intention is to have one house on the application. It's not 2 houses. So I want to be clear, when you're applying for 1 house and you're applying for variance about the 1 house, this is out of proportion. But if this was a 2-house issue, I think then we should talk about the 2-house issue.
okay.
Thank you very much for your understanding.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I would just like to point out that the request for the side yard variance is just along the garage, as the applicant had noted. Most of the setback remains at 1.4 meters. However, it sounds to me like there's an opportunity to have some dialogue between yourself and the new owners. Granting them a 4-foot side yard doesn't mean that they have to build it to 4 feet. It means they've been given the approval to put it that close. But if subsequent discussions with them result in them moving it a little bit further away from you, then so be it. I see that there might be the opportunity to do that. They're building a 2-story, which is permitted in the zoning bylaw. They're not asking for a variance on the height, okay? The other comment that I would like to make is they're asking for 1.2 meters, but the side yard setback on the back corner of your house is only 1.14. So it's actually closer to their lot line than they are to yours. So I think the request is appropriate. I think they've done a good job in citing the house, but if there is any other comments from the remainder of the public, I'd like to hear from anyone else. I don't see any. Any additional comments from our planning department?
Through the chair, planning staff have no comments.
Okay, and our members, any additional comments? Yes, Member Gossi.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask the applicant a question. Do we know who the owner of 48 Fergus is?
To the applicant?
To the applicant, yeah.
Excuse me, what's the question?
The question was, do we know who the owner of 48 Fergus is? Are you the owner of that property?
No, I'm the applicant. So do you know the neighbors?
Is the owner of 48 Fergus here this evening?
No, not here.
No.
So I just wanted to ask, it looks like, you're attempting to reserve some space perhaps in the future to create another lot, perhaps 48, and squeeze another lot in there.
Yeah.
I respect everything my colleague, the chair, has mentioned. Oftentimes we've approved 3.94 on many occasions. I'm just wondering is this even worth the fee to ask for 20 centimeters along the garage when you could have just moved the whole property over 20 centimeters and saved yourself some fee, unless there's some ulterior motive or some reasoning behind why you need all that property on the side of the home?
Yeah, I think yeah. So and also under the yeah, we could, I think the space, yeah, if we move the to the proposed house move towards the south, so the new building in the future may be too small. So that's why we want to add a little bit, yeah, maintain so I need to move it towards the north, yeah.
It appears to me as though that the remaining portion of that side yard might form a consolidation with the property adjacent to it at some point in the future, which is okay. I mean, if you look at the lot fabric in the area, there are some smaller lots along the street, so I don't particularly see a problem with that.
Yeah, we're just thinking because and also and because of neighborhood, there are also some houses, especially new houses, they have the smaller setback. So I think yeah, maybe yeah. So and so and yeah, so and this maybe and also to be permitted, yeah. And so and if and for example and if and the squeeze and the garage, yeah, towards the south. So I think maybe and the other area and where it become very too small, yeah, in the reception area or yeah, the house area. So
I do see the member's point. You know, you could have moved it 8 inches further down and not came to the committee, but nonetheless, you're entitled to request a variance, and the staff report indicates that it is a minor and it passes the 4 tests. Is there any other comments from our committee members? Yes, Member Payne.
Is there through you, Mr. Chair, to planning, is there a requirement for 40% landscaped area in the front yard? And does this meet that requirement?
Through the chair, I'm not sure at this point. That would be a question for zoning in terms of the 40% requirement for soft landscaping, but there is, zoning has identified no areas of zoning non-compliance, so it conforms to the zoning.
Okay, and will the weeping willow be retained and protected? Mature tree in the front yard?
so then we will replace 2 large trees, yeah, according to the Parks Department recommendation, yeah.
Yes, that indicates that in page 3 of the staff report.
Yes.
At least 2 large canopy trees are to be replanted in front of the yard under a future site alteration permit application for the loss of tree 1.
Yeah, we agree to that. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Any other comments? Sure, come on up. Yeah. Yes.
I know your view, but I do want to say that still, like, it wouldn't be the end of the world if Mr. Lin were to move the 8-inch to the other side.
Correct.
Don't black, and I understand it's garage, his garage, but it's my son's bedroom window is right there, and we're little bungalow.
I understand.
And there's no way we can demolish our bungalow to build a 2-story anytime soon.
Right.
Because our bungalow is not very old, it's not worth demolishing.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Like I said, I think there's an opportunity to have a look at this from a conceptual standpoint for the balance of the property adjoining. You might want to look at this property combined with the adjacent property and see where the lot lines will fall and see if they can, you can still get an adequate number of lots and perhaps move the house a little bit further to accommodate the neighbors. That's just something that I would recommend you look at after tonight's meeting. Okay? Any other questions, comments? Okay, in that case, I ask for a motion.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to address
Oh,
no, that's okay, the public's comment. This is unfortunately a very minor variance that they're requesting. I do recognize that you're saying it will impact your son's windows, but from our standpoint, this is really 20 centimeters, and if this was not approved by the committee, this would go to the tribunal by the applicant, and this would be approved under no questions asked. This is unfortunately just very minor on paper, but as the chair said, we do kind of encourage you to work together and try to find a compromise. But that said, I would like to make a motion
Thank you.
to put this application forward for approval. So this is application number MV-24-54 located at 56 Fergus Avenue, subject to the terms and conditions in the city staff report.
Moved by member Kalbas, seconded by member Payne. All in favor? Unanimous? Approved? Okay. Okay. Yes. The next item on our agenda is item E, minor variance application MV-24-84 located at 137 Oxford Street. If the applicant could come forward and present. Do we have any additional correspondence on this application?
Dear Mr. Chair, no new correspondence was received for this application.
Okay, thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you. Good evening, members of committee, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Deborah Alexander. I'm with Alexander Planning, and I represent the owner of the property at 137 Oxford Street. This property is currently vacant. It's proposed for development of one new single detached home. Linda, if you could go forward. Thank you. This property is located on the south side of Oxford Street. It's west of Regent Street and south of Elgin Mills Road. The area has been undergoing gradual redevelopment, replacing existing smaller single-story homes with larger structures. And the property is zoned R3 under the old zoning bylaw 2523. To facilitate this proposed new home, 3 variances are requested. One will reduce the minimum required side yard setback on both sides from 1.52 to 1.2 meters. To increase the maximum permitted coverage from 30% to 35%, and to reduce the front yard setback from 7.62 meters to 6.8 meters. To recap, this application came before this committee at its January 30th meeting and was deferred pending discussions with the adjacent owner to the west with regard to the window wells and driveway setback, primarily related to a drainage swale that's located between the 2 properties. Discussion with the adjacent owner was undertaken on the days following that meeting, and as a result of those discussions, the plan has been revised. The window wells have been removed through the adjustment of the height of one of the windows so that a well is no longer required, and also through the relocation of the second window to the front of the house beside the porch. In addition, the driveway width was reduced to provide for the full 1.2 meter requested setback between the edge of the driveway and the mutual property line. So these changes were all made to accommodate the shared drainage swale. The owner of the adjacent property has advised in writing that she is now satisfied with the plans and has no further objections to the requested variances, and that email was forwarded to committee staff before the previous meeting. The intent of the side yard setbacks in the zoning bylaw is to ensure that structures are appropriately set back from neighboring properties and to allow for proper drainage and maintenance. In this case, the owner has advised that the house has been designed to accommodate his stepfather, who is disabled. So there's some additional need for width on the house to allow for that full access and for a ground floor guest room. The proposed 1.2 meter side yard setback won't impact the adjacent property. It allows for the provision of an appropriate swale, and sufficient separation between the proposed structure and the neighboring property remains. So the intent of the front yard setback is to allow for landscaping and appropriate setbacks from the public street in order to preserve the streetscape. Front yard setbacks along Oxford Street are varied. The proposed front yard setback will not negatively impact the streetscape, and it does allow for the side-facing garage. The intent with the side-facing garage is to allow additional space in the garage itself for a lift, again, to accommodate his stepfather. The intent of the maximum lot coverage provisions is to, the additional width and the additional garage has meant that we've also run into a minor change to the coverage. So the intent of the maximum lot coverage provision is to ensure that appropriate green space and amenity area is provided. The proposed lot coverage will not result in a loss of amenity area. All other requirements of the bylaw will be satisfied. In terms of its design, this new home will be consistent with the size, design, and massing of other homes in the immediate vicinity, including several properties with side-facing garages. So the requested variances are minor in nature. They're desirable for the use of the property. They maintain the intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw and they meet the 4 tests of the minor variance and are appropriate for approval by the committee. And thank you very much.
Great, thank you for that. Is there anyone from our audience that would like to speak to this application? I see none. Is there any additional comments from our planning department?
Through the chair, planning staff, I have no comments.
Okay, and our committee members, any comments? Yes, Member Gossi, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to say thank you so much for speaking to the neighbor and both of you guys being able to work this out in a very amicable way. Very impressive. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? I see none. In that case, could I have a motion?
Yes.
Member Payne?
I move that application MV-24-84 involving 137 Oxford Street minor variance application be approved with the conditions noted in the report.
Moved by Member Payne, seconded by Member Gossi. All in favor? Approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next item on our agenda is item F, minor variance application MV-25-04 located at 173 Kersey Crescent. Please come forward. State your name for the record, sir.
Good evening. My name is Shabazz Salimi. I'm the owner and the applicant. The applicant is like my architect, but I'm the owner of the 173 Kersey Crescent. So we have a existing basement apartment in there, and we're trying to legalize it, make it additional
unit,
residential unit. And then basically the setback requirement is 1 meter, while we're proposing 0.81 centimeter. So we're short of a 19 centimeter. And this is what the application is about. We're not adding anything, we're not deducting anything, we're not causing any trouble. The entrance door is already there, it has always been there. We're just enlarging 2 windows and pretty much everything is existing.
Yes, understood. Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Is there anyone from our audience that would like to speak to this application? I see none. Is there any additional comments from our planning department?
Through the chair, planning staff, I have no comments.
And our committee members, comments, questions?
I think I might just,
Okay.
I'm just trying to find my.
We do not have any additional correspondence on this application, do we?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are none.
Thank you.
So there was a comment from the engineering department about maintaining 0.91 meter. Just look in here. Maintain a 0.90 meter side yard setback on page 3 of the report.
Thank you. I've seen that.
Any thoughts on that? or-
Typically, engineering will comment on the concerns with respect to grading and the minimum required side yard for a drainage swale is 0.6 of a meter. It's interesting that they state 0.9. I'm not quite sure why they went with 0.9. The variance is for 0.81. There is already an existing side yard on the opposite side of 0.71, smaller than what is being requested. Correct? Do you know that? Okay, so one of the other side yard setbacks is actually less than what you're asking for. So I really don't know why engineering stated that. Maybe it was for the full comments were received. Maybe there was some subsequent information on drainage. Did the engineering require you to submit anything for grading? Okay. Okay, understood.
Like requirement has to be corrected and then has to go to the minor variance application and the committee of adjustment. So no comment from the engineering, even the building. So even I spoke with the Salvador, right? He told me zoning is just fine. You just have to go through the committee.
Okay,
That's what I
thank you
heard.
for that. I have a question for staff, planning staff. Are you aware whether or not the engineering department is going to request a updated grading plan for this, just to identify? Was there any comments circulated amongst engineering to planning relating to this?
Through the chair, there wouldn't. I believe that would be done through the site alteration permit process. At this stage, no, there wasn't.
And there is no requirement for site alteration under this application, or there will be?
Oh, sorry. I don't believe there would be, actually. I apologize. Sorry. For an ARU. No, I don't believe there would be. Sorry.
Okay. The only other comment I would make is that it is existing, correct? It's an existing
Completely
condition.
existing, sir.
So the grading and drainage has already been established. How old is the home?
The home should be 40 years.
40?
40.
Oh, okay, I think
Yeah.
we're good. All
The
right,
site
thank you.
entrance has always been there.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, in that case, I could request a motion. Member Gossi, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve item F on today's agenda. That's file number MV-25-04 at 173 Kirsty Crescent, subject to terms and conditions in the staff report.
Thank you. Moved by Member Gossi, seconded by Member Payne. All in favor? It's approved. Thank you. Okay, our next application on the agenda, item F, minor variance application MV-25-04. No, I'm reading the wrong one.
Yeah.
Sorry. Item G, minor variance application A038/20 located at 38 Penwick Crescent. Sorry about that. Do we have any additional correspondence on this application?
Yep.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have received multiple letters of opposition from residents of Penwick Crescent.
Thank you. Yes, sir, please proceed. Mike, we need to turn the mic on.
Sorry.
Could you start over, please?
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Chair and the committee members. My name is Shen Shu Zhang, architect, representing the owners of the property at 38 Penwick Crescent. So it is proposed to build a single-family house, detached house with a GFA to 412 square meters to provide 4 bedrooms for the family. The owner's family, the couple with their children. So we have 5 minor variances. The first one is a minimum front yard. So the bylaw requires a front yard. Actually, it's an average front yard setback of the neighbors, which is 8.44 meters. We proposed front yard setback 6 meters 73, 6 meters 73. So that actually is the porch, the distance between the front property line and the porch. The main wall actually is has a setback of 8 meters. So that's the first one. The second one is a minimum side yard. So the bylaw requires 1.83 meters side yard setback. We proposed a side yard of 1.22 meters for the north side yard setback, and another side yard compliant with the zoning bylaw. So the third one is about the maximum lot coverage. The bylaw permits the 30% coverage. We proposed 35.13%, including the porch, but does not include the water deck and the room underneath in the rear yard. That I will explain a little bit more later. So the fourth variances is a maximum encroachment to the minimum rear yard setback for the basement walkout. So the bylaw allows encroachment of 2.44 meters. We proposed a 3 meter, 33 meters. And then the last one is a maximum encroachment into the minimum front yard. That actually is our porch and the stair. The bylaw allows 2.44 meter encroachment. We proposed the encroachment of 3.13 meters. So we also reviewed the messages from the neighbors. They are living in 34 and 44 on the street. And then about the building height is actually compliant with the bylaw. We don't have a variance for that. And then about the submission in 2020, I'm not aware of that. And about the concerns about the trees, actually we have a arborist report and a tree protection plan. So generally we are going to remove 4 private trees, including one of that is dead. So we are remove 3 alive trees and 1 dead tree. And then we are going to plant 3 new trees in the rear yard that has been shown on the tree protection plan. And the other trees all are protected, including 2 city trees. To do that, we actually narrowed the driveway in the front part to 3.81 meters to provide the required tree protection area for the city's tree. Is labeled as C1. And we also protected 3 neighbors' trees, including N1, N2, and G1. So all those trees will be protected. And then as well, the small bushes, we also provided the required distance to protect them. So that's what I like to present for this moment.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this application? If so, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Gary Zikovitz. My wife and I we own 44 Penwood Crescent, which is about 3 houses north of 38 Penwood Crescent. So my primary concern that I'm going to focus on here is the official plan test, which I seldom hear anyone speak to. So our official plan says under section 4.9.2.4, development shall be compatible with the existing character of adjacent and surrounding areas with respect to the following: predominant building forms and types and massing. And I want to stress the word predominant because there are a few exceptions in our area. The current staff report for 38 Penwood Crescent fails to properly advise COA members of directly relevant information. This was also the case back in November 19th of 2020, when a backyard underground theater and storage area was referred to as a deck. And Mr. DeRisi actually caught that and said there would be drainage issues because it was really a concrete pad on top of an underground theater and storage area. So this time around, the applicants are coming back with taking a portion of that underground theater and moving it from under the backyard and putting it under the basement. That seems pretty unusual to me, especially for our area. I don't think there's anything like that. So once again, predominant building forms and types. So to assist the members of this committee, I actually sent some photographs in for you to look at to see what it looks like. And you see what this building is going to look like. And I want you to think if this does meet the requirements of the official plan. Is it going to fit in? Is it compatible? Another point that I'd like to make is I've done some research, and one of the municipalities within our region is Markham. And in the Markham Committee of Adjustment, every staff report that comes to them, regardless of what the staff recommend, and they often say it passes all 4 tests, but then they add one statement at the end. Staff recommend the committee consider public input in reaching a decision. The onus is ultimately on the applicant to demonstrate why they should be granted relief from the requirements of the zoning bylaw and how they satisfy the tests of the Planning Act required for the granting of minor variances. I think this is kind of rooted in legal doctrine where if you want to change from the law, then you got to build a stronger case than those that want you to adhere to the law. So those are my feelings. I should also point out that the last time, I guess February 20th, Gareth Edwards was going to be here and lead our presentations. And then because I didn't receive enough advance notice, he can't be here tonight. He's in Vancouver. Okay, so, but you do have his written submission, I believe, and I hope you'll take that into consideration. We do have one more presenter, and that's Pat Pollock, and she'll be doing that after me. So my belief is that this official plan test is not being passed, that this is a second attempt by the applicant to build the biggest house they can get away with, and it does not fit in our neighborhood. There are a few exceptions already, but I don't believe they ever passed the official plan test. And I'm hanging on the fact that it's the predominant building forms and types. It's not the exceptions. So I believe this application should fail. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else from our audience would like to come and speak? Please, and thank you.
Is this on? Is this on? Okay. My name is Pat Pollock, and I'm the chair of the Mayvern Area Residents Association. We are part of the same BAFE development and share the same concerns regarding this proposal. Let me begin with a quote from Larry Clay, chair of the Toronto East York COA. At the March 19th, 2025 meeting, he stated, "That's our job to figure out. Is the impact on adjacent surrounding neighbors enough to warrant reconsideration? Consider this as an obligation of this COA." Is that working? Okay. The application for 38 Penwick is, by my calculation, approximately 6,000 square feet of living space on a 6,214 square foot lot with a 2-level basement, an apparent sloped driveway, and a request of 4 variances. The size of the proposed dwelling is 3 times the size of existing houses in the neighborhood, none of which have 2-level basements, do not have a covered basement with a slab of concrete that potentially can be closed in to take even additional living space, nor balconies that overlook and destroy the privacy of 5 adjacent swimming pools. Obviously, it doesn't fit the requirements of the official plan, is not minor in nature, doesn't conform to the zoning bylaws, and doesn't satisfy the 4 tests of the Planning Act. The burden of proof is on the applicant to satisfy good planning principles. Have they done so? I have 5 specific questions to ask. Number 1, the elevation drawings for this proposal were not made available to the general public only upon special request. Only by viewing these drawings is it evident that there are deficiencies in this proposal that do not adhere to the 4 tests of the Planning Act. Through the chair, to the Planning Department or COA. Why is this information being withheld, and how is that fair to the community? Do you want me to continue with all of my questions? I have 5.
Sure.
Okay,
Proceed.
and then can I ask them at the end?
The planning department? Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
The second one,
Could take some notes, planning department.
according to drawing numbers A202, A203, A204, there appears to be a basement and a lower basement, or a 2-level basement. This is highly unusual and does not conform to anything in the neighborhood. So how does it fit the definition of the 4 tests that must be met by the Planning Act? Additionally, if this was allowed, you would be opening the door to multi-level basements without any direction from planning staff or Richmond Hill Council. Through the chair to the applicant and planning department, can the applicant explain this? Why is there no mention of this in the staff report? There appears to be no egress in the lower level basement. Why is this proposal not circulated to the fire department for safety concerns? My third concern, according to the drawing number A201, the established grade is above the floor of the garage. So is this a reverse driveway? Through the chair to the applicant. If so, I've had correspondence with Richmond Hill Engineering Department, which strongly discourages reverse driveways, except in exceptional circumstances. To the applicant, what is the exceptional circumstance? My 4th concern, there is a balcony on the 2nd floor of this proposal. That balcony overlooks 5 swimming pools on neighboring lots behind this lot. Through the chair to the applicant and the committee, what steps are you taking to ensure the privacy of these neighbors? And my final question, why are these variances necessary, and why can the applicant not adhere to the zoning bylaw? If these concerns are not adequately answered, this proposal should be denied. Thank you. Here are my questions in summary forms.
Okay. Thank you for that. I don't think there's anyone else that wanted to speak. You said just the 2 of you, right? So,
Are you sure?
yeah. Okay, thank you. So we can move to the planning department's communication on some of these questions. So why is the information being withheld, and how is that fair to the community? I think the last time this was deferred, they were missing some architectural drawings. And I think,
But the architectural drawings are different this time because there's a 2-level basement. And the only way you can tell that is by seeing those elevations.
no, correct. The point I'm trying to make is I too did not have a copy of the architectural drawings. And so it was the
You
committee's-
don't?
I did not at that
Oh.
time. And that's why we moved forward as a committee to defer it, because the public was concerned as well. You didn't have enough information, neither did we. So we got a little bit more information, and I'm hoping you got a little bit more information on that. So I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about,
Yes,
being
we had
withheld.
to ask for them. Otherwise, with the staff report, you cannot tell.
Right, right.
It's only with those drawings or elevations that we could tell that there was a double-level basement.
Right, understood. And, you know, there was, I was not aware of this, but there was a meeting that was held with staff where they committed to ensuring that this information would be attached to all the staff reports in that community, right? So, I mean, I would encourage staff to make a note of that once again and make sure that anything in that neighborhood is a complete package. It's, we don't necessarily require all the applicants to submit architectural drawings. It's not a requirement. However,
understand that.
under these circumstances, hopefully we can respect your wishes and we can include that. So,
Thank you.
okay, I think we can jump to number 2. Can the applicant explain this? 2-level basement, why is there no mention on the report? There is no egress, lower level. Why is this proposal not circulated to the fire department for safety? Go ahead, I've got some comments too, but
Yeah, first of all, through the chair planning staff, I'd like to note that there's no concern or there's no circulation to fire department as the basement is not a habitable area in the house, for one, but also we don't require any floor plans as well because that's outside the scope of the committee of adjustment. It's just for a variance to the zoning bylaw, which is external. So they're not required to provide any floor plans or elevations for the basement as that's outside the scope.
okay, it's fine. I've got a comment on that. If you all have drawing number A101, correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
It was on the screen.
It shows a little blow up of a section of the foundation where this new home theater is, that's it, that's the drawing. This new home theater is being proposed. Now, I took a careful examination of the elevations that were there. This is actually not a basement under the basement, okay? It's a room under the garage. That's what it is. And
Goes beyond.
that's not uncommon. We've seen that before. I've seen that before. So there's the main basement, and then you actually, because the garage is about 6 feet lower than the first floor, what they're doing from the basement is stepping down to the room that's underneath the garage. That garage slab will have to be engineered, a structural slab. We're going to have come up with drawings for that. So I paid special attention to this because, yeah, I had concerns about a basement under a basement, but this is actually a level under the garage. So it's an extra room under the garage. Some people do it for storage.
So it's being excavated even deeper. What is it, 16, 18 feet deep?
At the garage, that's correct.
Right.
And I would normally be concerned with groundwater. And I checked that elevation, and it's not of any concern to me as being in the water table. It's likely outside the water table, but the applicant will have to put in a sump pump in order to collect the foundation drainage, because that's going to be the lowest point in the home. So,
well-
but I just wanted to clarify, it is not a basement under a basement, okay? I just want you to understand that. Is this a reverse driveway? Good question. I agree with you. Engineering are distracting or deterring applicants from a reverse driveway. If the applicant could respond to that, is this a reverse driveway to your knowledge in terms of the grading? Or are we draining by gravity from the front of the garage to the road?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to explain that for this application, we are focused on the zoning bylaws issue. And about the engineering issue, first, we are not intended to do a reverse driveway.
Okay.
So typically, we are making sure that it will be higher than the curbs.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. And do you need me to?
That's all I wanted to know, okay? If we have any other questions for you, we'll ask you to come back. What steps are you
I'm
willing?
sorry, could you mind? I didn't hear what he said.
Okay, he said that the driveway will slope from the face of the garage to the road, positive drainage. It will not have reverse fall. Okay? What steps are you willing to take to ensure the privacy of these neighbors? This is from the second floor
From
balcony,
the second floor balcony,
looking out into,
looking over those 5 swimming pools
right,
all on the back.
right. Typically, that can be done with trees. If the applicant could comment on whether or not there is a landscape plan, or are you planning to put some vegetation to help screen that in the back? The owners are here? Yeah. Looks like there are some mature trees along the back line. Just the elevation.
Yeah, you know what,
Sorry.
you know what, I discussed with the owner. As architect, I said that is the typical concerns of the neighbors. If you have a balcony in the rear yard, they agreed to remove this balcony, even it's not a.
You can remove the balcony.
Yeah.
And just have a
And
window
write
there.
that one as a condition of the approval.
Okay.
As architect, I usually recommend our clients don't have balcony in the rear yard till you have a very big lot. They agreed. Yeah.
Okay, that will help if you can accommodate the neighbors by removing that balcony. Okay, I can't read the next question.
I'm sorry.
All right, final question. Why are these variances necessary and why can the applicant not adhere to the zoning bylaw? There was a comment made about the mass of this, and I don't see a request for a variance in height, which is good.
No, that's right.
I don't see that.
No.
A two-story typically in your common Richmond Hill zoning bylaws will allow for 35% maximum lot coverage. A bungalow will go as high as 40. That's a number that I focus on when these variances come in. As soon as you're like well above the 35, it's a concern for me. But if you're in the 35 range with coverage, I'm not as concerned. But I can tell you I was pleasantly surprised when I saw the elevation being a more conventional style of building rather than a contemporary flat roof, which causes a lot of aggravation in the community, as it did the last few times. And I think one snuck through without any variances at all. I mean, it's going to be, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 years before that whole area would transition to that style of home. I mean, it's not that I dislike it, but there's a place for it. And this is a more conventional style
We have
elevation. So I'm happy with that.
Gary also had a question about the official plan.
Yes, the official plan. I would, so it seems like other municipalities that you've reviewed comments are a little bit more elaborate in terms of item 1 on the planning comments, you know, do the proposed variances meet the general purposes of the official plan? Those 2 paragraphs, you guys aren't happy with. Is that what I'm hearing? Yes, if you could come back to the podium so we could.
So in Markham, it's quite common for the Committee of Adjustment to reject requested variances, even though staff are recommending, you know, or saying that all 4 tests were passed, because the committee, based on what they're hearing in the room, says, well, this test wasn't passed. I haven't heard one word that say how this official plan test was passed by anybody.
Right, so.
And I've shown you photographs to show that it's not compatible. So the evidence in this room, the only evidence I heard was what I provided to you. And I say it's not compatible. And I've showed you evidence. And I mean, you know, you can do what you do and disregard that test, but I saw no evidence to support that that test is being passed.
Yeah. Okay.
Through the chair,
Okay.
the chair.
Thank you.
Yes, if I could get the planning department's comments with respect to the general intent and purpose of the official plan and how it's being addressed.
Through the chair, staff have determined that it does conform to the official plan as it is in the neighborhood designation. The neighborhood designation permits low-density residential uses, which this is determined to be, as it's under 3 stories, and it is a single detached dwelling, so it is compatible. And the official plan also does support gentle intensification of the city. And one other thing I think is important to notice here is the character is compatible, as the character can be regulated by the development zoning standards, which regulates the size and setbacks of the home. So I think that's also important to note as well.
Okay, thank you.
I have the applicant answer that final question for me, please?
Okay, if the applicant could come to the podium, please, and try to answer the question with respect to compliance with the official plan, what you're proposing, how it complies with the official plan.
Yeah, as the planning staff pointed out, so about the character of the neighborhood, usually is that they are talking about the building density, height, and the pattern. If we do like a semi-detached house or townhouse, that is the character, and or apartment. And now, as it was already pointed out, it's still a single-family house, detached, two-story building. I think and low density. That is all consistent with the official plan.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for your comments. I would like to hear from the other committee members. Do we have any comments? Member Gossi.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So I would like to thank Mrs. and Mr. Pollock for your thorough questions. And you raised a lot of concerns that made me think about this file a little bit more deeply. So thank you for doing that. I also want to thank the chair for pointing out that portion of the basement was underneath the garage, because I did not actually have the drawings as well. So I was not able to figure that out. So thank you so much. This is really difficult for me because it's kind of on the line when I look at each specific variance. They seem to me, although perhaps contentious to some, I can't really point one out specifically that I have a concern with. Although I do have that feeling of uneasiness, right? There's nothing in particular that I can point out that I'm very concerned with. I would have been highly concerned about that basement. That was my, going to be my sticking point for the approval of this application. But Mr. DeRisi, pointing out that it was underneath the garage with the engineering slab on the inside the garage, helped sort of address that point for me. So, yeah, that's all I had. I don't necessarily have any reason to object this application.
Okay, thank you, Member Gossi. Any other comments? Yes, Member Payne.
I think as long as we're discussing the official plan and the intention and protection perhaps not the right word, but the intent of the official plan, when you have a long established, stable neighborhood, and along comes this kind of change, and you think, all right, this is the beginning of it. And for me, my concern is we seem to be going to these great big houses in a city that prides itself on the environment, on the natural setting, on nice big yards, on trees and nature. And we're covering everything over to the point where I see applications where I wonder if you're even meeting the minimum requirement of landscaped area in your front yard. And I just question how that can be considered compatible with a long-established, mature neighborhood with lots of trees. And this is the beginning of something that is quite disturbing for the neighbors.
Thank you.
And I kind of look on it as a citizens committee that we're here to express that concern. And even though it seems to meet all the requirements, in a general kind of way, here is a neighborhood that just is out fighting for what they think they want to protect. And I support that.
Thank you for that. Yeah, okay, I would just like to further add, the comment is, why are we building these great big homes? And I just want to emphasize again that I would take this type of elevation over that flat roof contemporary style any day. So I think that's a win from that perspective. And again, I just want to remind everybody They're not here asking for any height variances. And the coverage is 35.13%, which falls in line with today's standards. So I really don't have an issue with this after digging into that basement as well, basement concern and condition. I do thank everybody for all the comments because you forced me to go a little bit deeper into this and look at it. I wasn't aware of that meeting requiring staff to ensure that, you know, these applications are a little bit more thorough when they come through the committee in this community. So I'd like to emphasize that once again. And again, thank you for that information from Toronto with respect to, you know, the iceberg homes. I read that. That was very interesting. And that forced me to go a little bit deeper into this as well. So if there aren't any other comments or concerns, yes?
Did you look at Gareth's submission? Because he indicated that the 35% lot coverage plus the hardscape makes it almost between 50 and 60% of hardscape on that property. And that is a real concern. You're covering that much non-absorptive.
Right. Understood. So when this goes through the engineering department, they will be required to address the extra runoff that is being generated. And that can be done through means of porous pavers on the driveway, allowing some infiltration, or a soak-away pit in the backyard to pick up a portion of the rooftop. So I'm not sure if engineering are going to request that for this, but it's a very common practice nowadays to put infiltration galleries in the backyard. A lot of municipalities are doing that just to match the existing conditions that were there before and to ensure that we're not sending any additional runoff to the neighboring properties. So that extra runoff from the existing condition is captured, stored in an infiltration gallery, and it's given some time to infiltrate in the ground, which is also better for the environment. So
It would be nice to have something done at this level rather than having the residents complain on the build. We have had cracked basements. We have had drainage runoff, the downspouts going into neighbors' property that's caused leaks. I mean, the headaches that we have gone through. That's why I'm here to support Gary.
Yes.
Because we in my neighborhood have gone through a number of situations that haven't been addressed. We've had to complain, we've had to wait for things to happen, and we've had to suffer the consequences. We'd rather have it happen here.
understood. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. There's no other questions, comments? I'll ask for a motion, please. Member Gossi.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve item G on today's agenda with file number A038/20 at 38 Penwick Crescent, subject to terms and conditions in the staff report, with the condition that the applicant will be removing the balcony from the second floor.
Excellent, thank you, Member Gossi. Second that, Member Payne. All in favor? Opposed? One opposed. It's approved.